Now, the Naira has reversed some recent gains, weakening against the US dollar at the official and parallel markets. Now, will the local currency recovery, with the local currency lose ground near term? Dipo Ajayi, head fixed income and FX at Chapel Hill Denham Securities, joins me now for more on the trading pattern and outlook for the FX market. Dipo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
What I meant to say was, is a recovery for the currency on the horizon? But let's get to the root of this. Why are we seeing this weakening? I mean, all we've seen in the last couple of weeks is, the Naira stability. We've seen, you and I have had conversations about how companies are now able to plan, for the long term. Are we overreacting to this slight fluctuation that we're seeing in the currency?
Well, I think we are getting concerned quickly, just because we've seen that trajectory of Naira appreciating. And if you have been around when Naira went to 1,900, you want to be awake at every time to know that, oh, is it the rally upward as it started again? And I guess that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are actually very concerned about that. And I don't think it's actually out of place.
Right.
But when you look at some of the reasons that we feel that could have led to what we saw, there are insinuations around the fact that, and of course it's been tested that whenever there's FAC payment, we tend to see a lot of pressure.
Government payments.
Yeah, on what is actually happening at the parallel market. And also, aside that also, on the official front also, we've seen a bit of outflow from some foreign investors. And basically, after the maturity of some automobiles, we tend to see some of them actually visit the window to actually exit. And some of them is just to take the plumbing. I just want to be sure that if I actually want to take my money out, I can actually take it out. So I won't be surprised if we start seeing most of those guys coming back, since they actually tested the plumbing and then they found that they actually worked very well. And another thing also is what we mentioned when you were actually introducing to this program about the Naira-for-crude deal. And I think the NNPC should have actually reacted faster than they did. And also, I also think that Dangote also should have also come out to quickly say that no, that's not what is happening, that they are currently on the table speaking with NNPC around rolling over the contract, because this is a time where we need to protect the market and ensure, because market is very sensitive to every information that is coming to the market. And immediately that information got to the market, a lot of people are already thinking, are you sure most of these guys will not start coming to the market to buy FF, knowing fully well now that NNPC is trying to unplug the Naira-for-crude deal. But it's not true.
But the NNPC has said, look, everyone hold your horses. We are still we're reviewing the contract, likely to be reviewed. But there are also some other matters arising from this. And you and I were talking earlier about, how this contract was put together in the first place. And if there was a general understanding that at some point, this Naira-for-crude arrangement, at some point, there will be some dollars involved in the arrangement. Do you think that we could potentially see this happening when this new contract is put together? No, Naira, but maybe some dollars at
I think at this particular point that they may still give a bit of headroom in this particular negotiation, maybe for another 6 months. But I think after the 6 months, I won't be surprised if the NNPC is asking for $1 for crude transaction. Because to be realistic, Dangote also have other inflow of effects that's come from the same product sale. It's everything that's produced and not consumed in this country. Some of these things are exported to outside the country. We have the fertilizer sale, we have the aviation fuel sale, and some other ones like that. So I think that's where the NNPC is looking at it from that perspective.
But was the understanding there from the beginning that at some point this deal in Naira was not going to be sustainable for the long term?
I'm sure the understanding would have been there, because if the transaction has just been for 6 months, it means just more like, let's just give you a leeway for 6 months. Then after that, we'll come to the table and discuss this thing. And I think that's exactly what happened in that regard.
Back to the issue around the government payments and that spike that we usually see, which appears to be becoming a trend. Is there a way that the CBN can mitigate against that?
I think the central bank needs to actually wake up and do more more around this thing, and because I think we are getting more reactionary than proactive in some of these issues. Because if we have seen a trajectory of things, we need to find a way around it. I don't even understand why we have to continue to get to a level where someone can go to a parallel market and buy such huge...
which is another point. I thought that there were, checks in place. The system was built such that, BDC has a certain amount to give to sell, and that, certain background checks and, reasons for the purchase and all of that. I thought all those systems were in place.
Those systems are there, but I don't think it's so much robust to that extent. And I think that's one of the things that APCON president mentioned at the time, that Guadabi. You mentioned something like having more like a centralized system where people can track transactions, just like what we saw on the FM platform.
Right.
You can see what FM have brought to the market. It has brought transparency, price discovery, and things like that. So you can't see each transaction go through FM and you're not asking, who is this person that actually did this level of trade? And one way or the other, we have been able to bring sanity to that segment of the market. I think the central bank just needs to copy that and repaste in what is happening at the parallel market.
And for the accretion of the reserves, we're currently around just over $38 billion. And I was asking you earlier, what are the accretion plans? How else can we boost the FX reserves? What other options are available to the CBN?
I think that's one of the reasons why NNPC is not looking at actually doing a long-term transactions on the Naira-for-crude. Because one of the things is that when you look at your FX generating capacity, you have close to 85% of it coming from the oil revenue. And if the same is what you are using to get Naira inflow, so it simply means that one way or the other, you actually you are sacrificing the accretion on reserve for that benefits. And that's one of the reasons why they would want to not to make it a long-term plan. And another thing also is to now find a way to actually develop other sector, which we're already doing. I think the mining sector is another sector that we need to actually work aggressively on to actually improve our FX generating capacity as well.
So exports of other commodities. Thank you so much, Dipo, for talking to us. We appreciate
You're
your time.
welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Dipo Ajayi, Head of Fixed Income and FX at Chapel Hill Denham Securities, looking at the Naira's movements recently.